Welcome to the Bold Analysis. We are on standby to give you live updates on this day, 25th day of June 2025. 1 year down the line, Kenyans are out in the streets to commemorate 60 or more than 100 Kenyans who were killed on this day when they decided to take to the street and breach parliament on what they called protesting against the finance bill. So keep it here for every update, and that is what exactly I want to do. But of critical importance is also to give you an update about this boy here, Steve. For better part of last week, we're responding to appeal to take this 15-year-old boy to the hospital. He lost the mother who he had supported in this channel, and after losing the mother, 2 days later he had a stroke, and now we had to take him to the hospital. And after the test and all the other tests and the MRI, we've established that Steve, our son, was suffering, is actually having a spine tumor that is also cancerous. So the doctors were ruling out any sort of, that had to be addressed through chemotherapy or radiotherapy because it is embedded deep in the spine. But also what we did, because he had bed sores on our end, we decided to put him on a 6 months clinic, paid clinician care, so that can help to do the dressing and handle the bed sores. And also physiotherapy is also going to be done for the next 6 months on our end, so that he can also just get strength. And we also offered him a wheelchair that will help in bit of mobility around. That is what we were able to achieve, but we are still opening up. And that is why I want to inform you that if you have a solution, you have contemporary medicine, something you think we can do to help this boy, I'm still inviting you to reach out to me. Reach out. Even if you still want to support the family another way, support this boy another way, the door is still open. You can still come in and support our son, Stephen. Thank you very much for your response. I asked you guys, we came through, and I really believe that we've done a bit of it. This is the crowd at Nairobi Archives very early in the morning.
This is the current situation. The number imekuwa kubwa, uncontrollable. Ayande mbele huko. Aya, toa mtu asijoin hapo. Aya, the number imekuwa kubwa vibaya sana, uncontrollable. Watu wameongezeka, angalieni. Angalieni huko chini.
This is crazy, man. This is mad. Three numbers.
And the turnout in Nairobi today was actually overwhelming. If you look at those photos, if you look at those videos, the mood, I think the protesters that turned out to protest were very peaceful, very early in the morning. You can see the number was there, and they're relatively very peaceful, carrying flag, the Kenyan flag, their phones. And I wanted to say this because, you know, there have always been a notion of this protest being infiltrated by goons. If you analyze it well, you will understand that those are not goons. Those are actually legitimate protest. The second observation we've made is the huge trucks, huge police trucks that were taking patrol in town, even as also the choppers also take patrol in town. You can see the huge trucks that were there, and that is to tell you the level of preparedness that the state was actually putting. The way leading to State House and the one to Parliament was actually barricaded by some wire mesh. You know, that has been trending. People have been asking what exactly is that, but you can see wire mesh was actually there. The other third aspect I've seen is the extensive media coverage. All cameras are almost in all the places where the protests are going on. And now let's look at regions where the protest is going on. Number one is Nairobi. Nairobi, the videos I've shown you is one in Nairobi. And you can see it has been relatively calm, relatively peaceful, without the skirmishes with the police. And in Nairobi, one of the things that happened is they actually stormed the Central Police Station. The crowd moved from CBD and they took Kenyatta Avenue all the way and Moi Avenue, Uhuru Highway, and they went to the Central Police Station where Albert Omondi Ojwang was killed. And they were demanding to see the cell where the police says that where the police always say that they did something there. That is in Nairobi, and that is to remind you that things are not as not easy as people might think. The other place where there is protest apart from Nairobi is Nakuru. Yes, are also been relatively cool. Very peaceful, not so much happening on that end. And then there is Kisii and Nyeri. Yes, Kisii and Nyeri, the two items you're seeing on the screen is Kisii and Nyeri. And I don't know, of course, those two regions, protesters are lighting bonfires. You can see them. You can see the Kisii and Nyeri. The protesters are actually lighting bonfires. Nyeri just started around this is the time. Nyeri just started around 11 a.m. Saa tano mchana. Nyeri started. Kisii had started around 10. Mombasa and also Kitengela started all the way with the one in Nairobi, and that was as early as 9 a.m. in the morning. So there is an update on the areas that it has happened. Why am I looking at that? Remember, there is a paradigm shift on the protest. For quite some time, if you compare this to what used to happen in 2017, is that there have been protests in Nyanza areas, and especially the Luo Nyanza areas where Homabay, Migori, and Kisii, Homabay, Migori, Siaya, Homabay, Migori, Siaya, and Kisumu. But as I told you, I was in Kisumu very early in the morning. And one thing I noticed is Kisumu was not protesting. And someone would actually want to see that as a gain. That okay, because of now broad-based, so Kisumu is not protesting. But then look at this. Between just Kisumu protesting and a situation where Mombasa, Nairobi, Nyeri, Kisii, Kitengela, Nakuru, where the protest is worldwide, you can see this outplays what actually used to happen in the past. And there is a message that should come clearly from the regional spread of this protest. It should actually show the rulers that what was hatched as the broad-based agreement was only to bring relative calm, and it was a tribal card to bring relative calm on Raila supporters, especially from the Nyanza region. But Irene says, I've also seen Bungoma and Kakamega. Yes, I'm just looking at the streak, the Citizen TV team. There are Kenyans that have turned out in Bungoma, Kakamega. So the area is now Bungoma, Kakamega, Kisii, Nyeri, Kitengela, Nakuru, Nairobi, and Mombasa. You know, that's now around 8 regions, 8 areas where that is happening. And it's supposed to show you that you must fix, you know, these problems have to be fixed. There is no second way about it. And then those who've been running narrative that the protest is only those coming from Mount Kenya who are anti-President Ruto, they've also gotten a very good feedback that, of course, it is not the tribal arrangement that is going to play a key role. I saw Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa put flags. They joined Gen Z at Holy Family Basilica in Nairobi for some prayers. Even though I'm not seeing them listening to the prayers, but I think they were there very early in the morning. Wakabeba flowers so that they could take them there. And interestingly, I've not seen Rigathi Gachagua, Matiang'i, Muturi. I've not seen them coming out. Probably I've not seen them anywhere. Guys, Thika Road is also not looking very good as at the moment. I'm just looking at the screen. Remember, police had barricaded the way to the Thika Road had been barricaded, and Kenyans who wanted to make their entry to town were actually being blocked, so they had to maneuver their ways around the Ngara and the Kariako areas so that they could get to town. So Thika Road is not moving. In fact, no motorists on Thika Road. Even the Valley Road has also been closed because there was a huge turnout from the other side of Kibera. And in town now is very clear. No business is operating. It's now clear to the president and his team that while you can sit and say, I have suppressed. But remember, Kenyans have not gone to work because of this. Kenyans have not gone to work. And it's very clear that the message is out there. As to the extent as to whether the state wants to take the message or ignore or downplay or however they react with it, it doesn't change the fact that there's a message being passed around that place. I'm also seeing Mombasa Road. Apart from Thika Road, tear gas canisters at Thika Road. Yes, tear gas canisters at Thika Road. I think I'm shooting these videos. I also see what's happening live from the city, and that's why I can give you the live update. So that is one aspect. The other, I've also seen Maraga with Rex's mother.
Really is. This we need to change, and change constitutionally. How do we change that constitutionally? The appeal is to all Kenyans to vote this government out, so that we come back and reset the country to where the police will work here. What the police will be concerned with is to make sure that nobody breaks into a shop to loot. If the police were working here peacefully with these people, I can assure you, nobody would have excitement. You expect people to be excited, and when they are excited, that is not violence. Tell me, what have these people broken? You were here, the media people. You saw what was going on. Did they break any building? They were just excited and singing. I mean, and saying, we want justice. That's what we want. So the best way, and I want to appeal to all Kenyans to seriously think about voting in a government that will respect the law, that will call the country to order, and that's what we are appealing. So I mean, you have seen it for yourselves, and let's leave it at that. And I'm sure the Kenyans have seen, because you.
Of course, they're heading to Parliament just to. Rex was the first person who was killed. Actually, he was killed on 24th of June. And then that's what brought up the 25th. That is what intensified the 25th June protest in 2024. So I've seen Maraga with Rex's mother, and also Babu Owino was received by a host of protesters in Nairobi CBD. Kisii has a presidential candidate, Matiang'i, one of the strongest hopefuls. Yes, one of the strongest hopefuls. Kisii has a candidate, so if you look at the intensity, in fact, I can tell you the one in Kisii, they even, there are bonfires. They're letting some tiles on the road, and you can as well see something going on there. I had mentioned that they actually stormed Central Police Station, and clearly there was a message to pass there that we want to see the cells where allegedly Albert hit his head on the head. I've seen just the protest, the wave of this protest since morning. Remember, in commemoration of Kenyans who lost their lives last year on this day, when they decided to register their frustration on the finance bill. And there are things I've seen. The tribal patronage comfort does not fix the country. In fact, for where Raila Odinga and the team are, if they are watching from the comfort of their houses, the fact that it is for the first time, it is not Raila Odinga that has called Kenyans to go and protest, and the people are out, and in fact it is more, the intensity is higher than when even Raila calls it, is already a clear message that it does not matter who you will bring in government. Even if now you say you are going for Rigathi, you are going for Uhuru Kenyatta, whoever is remaining outside there, it doesn't matter. And of course, what has been fashioned as a protest just for the killings and commemorate is actually a very clear message that we want the system to be fixed. So don't look at the individuals. In fact, don't look at the turnout, who has come out, who is not there. That is not so relevant. That is not, to me, so relevant. The point here is that the people are talking about they want the system to be fixed. And in fact, I on this note, let me say, the way I'm seeing Kisii is going to be a big shocker to the President Ruto. I don't think he's going to have the votes in Kisii. Thika Road, bonfires in Thika Road. Thika Road kuna kitu inachomeka, which probably that can be Gary or so, but kitu inachomeka. Thika Road, I can see the police planes doing surveillance on Thika Road. And Thika Road is very, let me tell you, people have not gone to town, but Thika Road is very harsh. It's not moving. In fact, if it is about standstill, I think the protest has brought the town to a big standstill. Clearly, the president will face the Gen Z ghosts in 2027. I am afraid this might not fade away. Much as we want it to fade away, this might not fade away so easily, because the people are a bit so determined, and the rulers or the president and his team are not so keen on changing anything. For them, they're looking for temporary comfort and just stamping, how police can shoot people leave the streets, go back home. They're looking for quick fixes, things that bring temporary excitement. They're not so keen on fixing. I'm a bit curious on the Thika Road protest, because majority of those protesting in Thika Road are actually from Mathare. Yes. Majority of them are from the Mathare, Huruma, Kariobangi, Babadogo, those areas, Kahawa, Wendani, those areas. That is also a point, the TJ Kajwang said, Dandora, that is also a point that probably people need to get. And it is a very clear, of course the police were trying to block them getting to town. That's why it has brought those protests. I can see tear gas canisters being thrown all over. But it's also another point that you need to point that those could be the Raila base. The Mathare is ODM base. So if whatever is happening in Thika Road is, I think the NIS guys really need to analyze these clips and see who are these people. And I can see them, for them, they are actually engaging the police directly. Police in Kisii have been restraining. I think they've really acted with a lot of decorum. I've seen Kisii kumekuwa na wamelit bonfires kwa barabara, but there have been bit of decorum. They've not really overreacted. Of course, you have to give credit. In fact, I've not seen a police officer trying to disperse the crowds in Kisii. They're a bit restrained. Remember, this is a place that things normally get out of hand. Lastly, I want to say, as I still wait for more developments on this protest, is the 2027 elections must be free and fair. From where the president is seated, this is the ideal situation that would be if, and I don't know whether if the elections are not done in free and fair manner. We need to know, because the public is very restless. That for sure. We cannot run away from that. The public is very restless. Thank you.